Welcome to this short presentation on how to become board certified in holistic nutrition. My name is Andrea Granson. I am the Educational Programs Assistant, and I am joined here today with Danny Gibbs, our Member Relations Assistant, who is going to guide us through this presentation. Okay, so let's get started here. So qualifying and how to get started. So Danny, let's talk about who can take the board exam.
Absolutely. So the only eligibility requirement for taking the board exam is simply to be a professional member of the NANP. And if you're wondering if that's you, if you qualify, you can just head on over to the NANP website, nanp.org. Click on that membership tab up at the top under categories, and you can see all the different ways you can qualify there.
Okay, so Danny, how do people get started?
Yeah, so the first thing you'll want to do is just get a copy of your study guide and purchase the application. I advise just start with those two things because that's really all you need to get the ball rolling on this whole ordeal. You actually do not have to be a member first just to start. So just get your application, get your study guide, and you'll get all kinds of more information at that point on what you'll need to do next, what your next steps are.
Okay. And then, so you just mentioned the study guide. Do you want to just give a quick mention on that?
Sure thing. It is about 30 pages long, and like I said before, it gives you a ton of information on the process, but as well as what you're going to be tested on. So the exam's broken into 5 different domains, and the study guide is the same. So there are 5 sections, and it gives you a list of the key terms and key concepts that you will be tested on, as well as a list of the books that we've written the exam directly from. And it is a very accurate representation of what you're going to see on the exam. So that is the best preparation for you to be successful in taking the test.
Okay, so to finalize an application, we need all of these things listed here. We've got
all of those things are what you're going to need in order to finalize your application. Now, there are going to be a couple of special situations. Not everybody is the exact same. So for example, number 8, that proof of existing liability insurance. Not everybody's going to be in private practice. Not everybody's state is going to require them to have that liability insurance. So there might be some things that don't apply to you. That's okay. You don't have to go rush out and get that liability insurance just for this certification. If it doesn't apply to you, you just let us know during that application process and it's perfectly fine.
Okay. So new graduates, is it slightly different for new graduates?
It is, yeah. And the term new grad is just anybody who has applied for the exam within a year of graduating from their nutrition program. And the benefit to being a new grad is we do not require those 500 contact hours, which we'll talk about on a further slide. We don't require them up front. Okay. Now, if you are applying for the exam and it has been 12 months since you've graduated, that's perfectly fine. You just will have to submit your contact hours up front as a part of the application process.
Right, okay. So yeah, there are some time frames, I guess, that we need to kind of keep in mind depending on where we're at when we make this application.
Right, so when you apply for the exam, your application is valid for a whole year. So when you apply, as long as you pick any exam date within a year's time frame, perfectly fine. If you miss your 1-year time frame, you will have to start that application process over again. So it's avoidable if you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Okay, and then another requirement, of course, is contact hours. So let's talk a little bit about direct contact hours.
So there is a 500 contact hour requirement. And what we require is at least 250. So at least half of your whole requirement must come from what we call direct contact hours. And that's really anything where you're doing nutrition consulting or nutrition educating. So that can be from employment or private practice, or if you have an internship or a residency situation, that also qualifies as well. And again, at least half of your hours have to come from these kind of situations.
Okay. And then indirect. Okay, so let's talk, because you said 250 can be indirect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so at most, 250 can come from your indirect contact hours, and that's more research-based items. So you'll see examples of what really that looks like on this slide as well as the next one. But again, they're more research-based hours. So if you're maintaining a blog post, or if you're writing a book, or if you're building your own program, that all counts for hours.
Right. Okay. And then there's just a little special note that we kind of need to mention here about contact hours.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of piece of that, and that is anything that you do from your schooling. So any part of your schooling that is a required part of your graduation, it unfortunately cannot count towards your contact hours. This really needs to be something that you do outside of your required education.
Right. Yeah.
And there is no time frame to your contact hours. So if you want to get that contact hours form and start logging things right now, even if you're not going to take the exam for a while, that's perfectly fine. Even if you go back in your history and you get contact hours from years ago, that's perfectly fine. It all counts. So my recommendation is always start logging as soon as you can because it helps yourself in the long run.
Okay, and so then preparing for the exam, you know, some people find it helpful to kind of join or form a study group.
Right, so as I mentioned before, that study guide is going to be your best resource for preparing for the exam. So we suggest forming a study group and having people kind of split the workload for finding those key terms and key concepts within the books that are listed in the study guide. That way you're not spending all of your time trying to find these topics in the books. You can spend more time studying the actual topics if you're splitting the workload amongst different people.
So the exam, the actual exam itself. So let's talk a little bit about that.
We allow you 3 hours to take the exam, but most people really finish it in about an hour and a half to 2, where you are allowed a bathroom break in there, so that's great. You need a 70% or more to pass, and that is overall on your exam. Some people think maybe if they don't pass, they only have to retake the sections that they didn't perhaps do well on. You have to retake the whole thing. So 70% or more to pass.
Okay, great. So then once someone's taken the exam, what title can they use? You know, what can we use at the end of our name?
Yeah, so we encourage everyone to still use the title that they earned after graduation. And then this title that you would earn after passing the board exam is Board Certified in Holistic Nutrition, or BCHN for short. So you would use the title that you earned after graduating, and then BCHN would be on the tail end of that. And the only little piece to mention there is if you are a new grad and you were able to take the exam before submitting your contact hours, you would be a BCHN candidate. And that would that's what you put after your title is BCHN candidate. And then once they were to submit the full 500 contact hours, candidate drops off, they're able to just use BCHN.
Okay. So of course, you know, not everyone is going to pass the exam the first time. So what happens if someone doesn't pass the exam?
They can take the exam a second time. There is a $250 retest fee with that, and they do have to take the exam that second time within 6 months of their first attempt. Okay. If they weren't to pass that for whatever reason, they are allowed to take it a third time, but there is another $250 fee for that as well. And in addition, they have to provide proof of additional education.
Right, okay. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about continuing education, so CEUs, and there is a difference here between a professional and a board certified member.
Right, so professional members, regardless if they're board certified or not, they will always have to submit 10 CEUs each year in order to maintain their professional membership with the NANP. Of those 10, we just require at least half of them be what we call Category 1. And up to half of them can come from what we call Category 2 if they so choose. And what Category 1 is just anything NANP or NANP pre-approved. So anything you find on our website is Category 1. And then for Category 2, anything that's not on our website that's still nutrition related, that all counts as Category 2. So board certified members are a little bit different in that they owe 30 CEUs every 2 years for their board certification re-credential process. So really, if you're maintaining your membership every year, you should be on the right track for your CEUs. They count towards both. So when you submit CEUs for your membership, it's also going towards your board certification.
Okay, so let's just recap on the Category 1. So just half the Category 1s can be met by Scoop webinars or NANP books and things that are found on our website. Is that correct, Danny?
Right. So category 1, again, just being anything you find on the NAMP website. There are 2 exceptions to that, and those are our Scoop webinars and as well as NAMP 360, which are books that you can read and take quizzes on. And the reason why we cap these type of CEUs is because a lot of the times they are information that our practitioners already know from their schooling. And just as a professional association, we want to make sure that when we are asking for continuing education, it means just that. So we want to make sure you're growing and stretching as a professional. So that's the reason why these are available, and they're great resources to gain CEUs, category 1 CEUs, but we do cap these kind of specific ones just because, again, we want to make sure that you are furthering your education.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, thank you so much, Danny. That was fantastic. And, of course, any questions, we understand this is a big process. Of course, you can find us. We have a telephone number here. You can, of course, email us. And yeah, thank you for joining us. And we hope this was helpful. All right, bye for now.